Hello, how's it going? My name's Adam. Welcome to A Duda Reviews. It's Wandavision time again. Are you excited? Okay, so I missed last week's episode to do a video on. I actually watched the episode, I just didn't do a video on it basically. But it was a really good episode, but it can easily be summed up as it was the Wandavision, except from the different perspective, but of the perspective of Sword. We met Darcy, we met Jimmy Woo, and we saw Monica Rambeau going into the Westview. We saw the B-Man go into Westview, and we just saw it all from a different perspective, and sort of got a few more clues put together. And the episode ended with Monica Rambeau getting booted out of Westview by Wanda herself. Cue episode 5, and it begins with the 80s sitcom. It goes straight back into the 80s, straight back into the sitcom format. So at the beginning of that episode, I was sort of like, oh crap, is this whole episode going to be another sitcom? Because as much as I enjoyed the first couple of episodes, first 3 episodes, by the 3rd episode, it was like, okay, no more sitcom. We need to know what's going on now. But they've totally done that, and they've sort of gotten on board with that. So now it's a little bit of both. So you get a little bit of sitcom, a little bit of Sword, a little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of craziness in between. Also, at the end of the last episode, I've neglected to mention, which is quite a big neglect thing to mention, Wanda had a couple of babies. Now these babies will grow up to be Wiccan and Speed, and they are called Billy and Tommy respectively, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. So the episode opens with the 2 babies crying their heads off. Wanda's trying to get them to sleep. She can't. Vision comes in, tries to get them to sleep. He can't. Then Agnes comes over. And she's saying goofy lines and silly stuff and cheesy stuff that she usually does, all goofy and, hey, it's me, Agnes, look at me, I'm Agnes, hey, woo, whoops, did I do that? Kind of situation. And then, boom, she suddenly sort of goes to Wanda, oh, shall I take that from the top? As if she's an actress in a sitcom asking, you know, shall I redo that line? And then Vision's like, what the hell? What the hell was that? And Wanda's like, what? Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. It's all fine. Everything's fine. But it's not fine. We know it's not fine. You know it's not fine. Vision knows it's not fine. So we turn back around to the babies that were crying, and they're no longer crying, and they're no longer in the cribs. Turns around, and there's like some 4 or 5-year-old kids standing there. They're the children. They've aged up pretty quickly. And Agnes says something quite telling here. I mean, the most obvious line she could have gone for is, kids, they grow up so fast, don't they? But she didn't. She said, kids, you can't control them, can you? I mean, like, and this gets reiterated later on in the episode, that Wanda can't control the children. So she has no power over them. In fact, it was initiated straight away in the episode when she was trying to get them to sleep, and she was trying to magic them to sleep, but she couldn't. It didn't work because she can't control them. So they, for some reason, are beyond her power set. Then we cut to my favorite opening of the whole series so far, the cheesy 1980s opening. It's very reminiscent of the Family Ties opening, where it's sort of like a painting and they're painting it as they go along. And I love, love, love the cheesy opening music. So brilliant, so cheesy, so inspirational, like all 80s music was. Once the credits are done, we're back to Sword headquarters, relieving my initial anxiety that this was just going to be a whole episode of sitcom. But like, boom, straight back to Sword. Monica Rambeau is on a stretcher type thing, recovering from her last encounter with Wanda, where she got zapped through a bunch of walls. She has a X-ray done, and the X-ray shows up as just like a blank sort of light blopped. And they said, oh, the X-ray didn't work, blah, blah, blah. Is this an indication of Monica Rambeau's powers? Because she later becomes Photon, I believe. Is this, and she even mentions the word photon in this episode as well. So I think that was a little Easter drop. But yeah, there's some photon shit going on there, and maybe she already has her powers. Haywood, who is increasingly becoming more and more of a dick, shows video footage of Wanda breaking into the Sword headquarters and lifting Vision's corpse. So Wanda either actually did steal his corpse, or that's manipulated footage. I don't know at the minute. I'm still suspect as to whether she actually did break in and steal his corpse, but I don't know. Some weird shit going on, that's for sure. So then we go back to the sitcom. The boys find a dog, or did they just create the dog? Did like Wiccan create the dog? I don't know. The dog just appeared, and the dog is named Sparky. I think this is after the comics, in the Vision comic, I believe. Wanda just magics up a dog collar in front of Agnes, giving Vision more concern as to what the hell's going on. It's like, hang on a minute, you just displayed magic right in front of Agnes, and Agnes didn't even blink. She didn't even seem to notice. It was like, what's going on? This is weird. Things are getting really weird, and Vision's starting to become more and more aware of the weirdness of this town. There's a little scene where they say, oh, we don't think you can keep the dog, you're not old enough, to the little 4, 5, 6-year-olds, whatever they are. And then all of a sudden they both look at each other and then age up. They sort of age up to 10 years old when Vision and Wanda said they would be capable of looking after a dog. So now they're already at 10 years old, and they've been alive for about a day. Then we go to Vision's work, and we initially saw Vision's work back in the 50s sitcom. Now we're seeing it in the 80s, so he's got little crappy computers that do the job kind of thing, but they're 80s computers, so they run about emails. So they've just got an email in the 80s, and they're just like, oh, look at this email thing, isn't it wonderful? Then they get an email from SWORD, and it describes the leak of radiation into the town or something like that, and the co-workers, Norm included, all just sort of read it like zombies, like, there is radiation in the town, da 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 da, like crazy zombie people. Vision's like, what the hell, Norm? What the hell's going on here? Why are you reading it like that? And why are you like acting like that's a joke, what you just read? Because it wasn't funny at all. It wasn't even a joke. And then he's like, oh, it's just a joke, blah, blah, blah. And then Vision zaps his head, zaps Norm's head, and Norm just suddenly like comes out of his little trance, and he's like, help me, what the fuck's going on? Where's my phone? I need to help my kids and my dad, or whatever the fuck he says. Help me, da da da. She's in my mind, she's controlling my mind. Now he says she, but he doesn't say Wanda. So, which also indicates that it might not necessarily be Wanda controlling the town, because they haven't said specifically, it's Wanda controlling me, get that bitch off me, because it might not necessarily be her, and I don't think it is her. And I also don't see Wanda purposely hurting innocent people, because after all, she is still an Avenger. She's like a superhero, for God's sake. Why would she like purposely hurt people? I know she goes crazy in the comics and things, but I don't know. I don't see it. Meanwhile, back at the SWORD base, Monica sends an 80s drone into Westview after she discovered that what you put in gets transformed into whatever surroundings it's in. So if it's the 70s, if you put something in from the 90s or from the 2020s, it would go in looking like the 70s. So she thought, well, what if I put something from the 80s into the 80s environment? Then it won't change the actual structure. So therefore she sends a drone in, sends this drone in, this 80s drone. So the tech's a bit dodgy, but it's still a drone, to communicate with Wanda. So she's like, Wanda, hey, what's going on? How you doing? And everything like that. Well, she didn't say it, but like, and then Wanda's like, you again? What the fuck are you doing here? And then she goes all red-eyed and like, well, I'm gonna kick some ass now. But Hayward, the dick that he is, says, right, she's about to blow, fire on her. And Monica's like, what? Fire? There's not supposed to be any weapons on this drone. What the hell are you doing firing at her? So he fires at her, and then it all goes zzz, and the drone wipes out. So this pisses Wanda off big style. Now she's fuming. She goes to the perimeter of Westview, and between that and SWORD headquarters, and just breaks on through it. Dressed in full Scarlet Witch, like from the movie's garb. So she's got the sort of long flowing red leather jacket type situation, and she's also knowingly, weirdly, got the Sokovian accent back, just slightly, but it's there. And she's like, what are you motherfuckers doing, trying to attack me? I will kick your ass, stay away, bitches. And sort of like all got guns aimed on her and stuff. And then Monica comes forward and says, look, I know you're psychic, and I know you know that I'm not really bad, and I'm not here to hurt you, and I am actually your ally. So, you know, chill out. But she doesn't. She just sort of says, look, stay the hell away from me and I'll stay the hell away from you. And then she uses her psychic powers to make every henchman there, every guard, aim their gun at the dick that is Hayward. And he's like, what the hell? And then she just goes back into Westview. But before she goes back into Westview, she does put a big red kind of energy field all the way through the whole sort of town, making it look like this is definitely more impenetrable now, so they're not going to be able to get in quite as easily as they did before. She did come across really cool in this scene. Wanda I'm talking about. She looked really cool. She sounded cool. She looked menacing. It was a really cool scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the episode. Next we cut back to the sitcom again, and there's a little scene with the postman, or the mailman as the Americans would say, that he was previously in I think it was the 60s episode, not the 50s episode, where we saw the mailman before, and he was just like very inconsequential and just like, hi mailman, he's like, hey, whatever. There's something up with that mailman, I swear to God. What's his deal? Why is he just there and just mooching about? There's something up with that guy. But yeah, the dog dies, so this really upsets little Billy and Tommy, so they're like, oh no, and they're talking about death. And then they ask their mum, Wanda, you can bring people back to life, can't you? And she's like, what? No, I can't do that at all. No, what the hell are you talking about? And then she goes into this big 80s moral speech about how you shouldn't mess with nature, and you know, you got to let things go sometimes, and this, that, the other. But she's being totally hypocritical. Get your words out, Adam. So then Vision arrives on the scene and he's like, what the hell's going on? They're like, oh, the dog's dead, this, that, the other. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, boys, whatever. They go back into the house and Vision's starting to get more and more and more suspicious. And he's like, I was at work. Norm said some really weird shit. Are you in Norm's head? Because if you are, stop it. It's not nice. You know, he's really in pain and you're just hurting these people. Stop it, Wanda. And Wanda's like, what? Don't we talk about? I'm doing shit. Well, she didn't quite say that, but she was basically like, you know, this is nice. I like where we are. Let's just leave it at that. Stop trying to ruin this illusion, because the illusion is nice. I'm happy and comfortable in this illusion. Stop fucking with it. And then he's like, look, I need answers. I'm pissed off. I'm fed up of this. And he floats up in the air in his whole Vision garb. And she floats up in the air and they're both sort of looking like they're ready to go at each other. And he's like, what the hell is going on? Why can't you just tell me what the hell is going on? Jesus, woman, tell me. But she doesn't tell him. They both float back down kind of thing. And then kind of chill out a little bit. And there's a knock at the door. And Vision's like, what the fuck is this now? They go to the door and it's dun dun dun. Evan Peters Quicksilver. That we all knew was coming, but we all feigned surprise when we saw him. Oh my God, it's him. I didn't see that one coming, but I bet you didn't see that one coming, but we totally did see that one coming. But there he is, Evan Peters at the door, kind of a wisecracky guy, like, hey sis, you gonna give your long lost brother a hug or something like that? And then he's like, who's this Popsicle? Popsicle, like, informing that he knows that he's dead, like, you know, he's frozen, like he's a dead guy. What the hell, who's this? Who's the Popsicle? Kind of thing. And he's very sort of cheesy and witty. And that's where we leave the episode. Evan Peters from Quicksilver. Wait, what? Evan Peters Quicksilver from the Fox universe is in the MCU now. Or is he actually Quicksilver? Or is he somebody pretending to be Quicksilver? Because Darcy does mention she's recast Pietro, as in, like, it was Aaron Taylor who played Pietro Quicksilver in the MCU before he got shot and died. So now we have the Fox guy. What the hell is going on? Is it just a leak from the multiverse? Is it saying about the multiverse, so the Fox multiverse, so we have Quicksilver from the different universe? Or is it not Quicksilver at all? I don't know. Do you know? Because I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but it's great. I love it. MCU is fantastic. This is probably my favorite episode so far. I love this episode. It's really good, especially Wanda and her displaying her powers and just being badass. She really doesn't take any shit in this episode. And the twins growing up really quick is just like funny. It's kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode. Are they going to be like teenagers in the next episode? Although I will admit, I did see that leaked footage from episode 6. I'm not going to say anything about that, even though there's nothing actually that revealing now, because we know that Evan Peters is Quicksilver in this so far. Yeah, it was a really good episode. I can't wait to watch episode 6. Bring it on. Thank you, Kevin Feige. In Feige we trust. You know the deal. You know what's going down. And bring it on. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment down below on what you think of the episode and what you think will be happening in future episodes. And yeah, with that said, much love. God bless. Goodbye.